Greetings and a warm welcome to everyone joining us from various concerns of the digital relay. I'm glad to introduce the speaker of the day, Dr. Naveen Kumar, Assistant Professor, Medical Biochemistry in Texila American University, Zambia. So today he is here to present. So over to you, Naveen, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm glad to be associated with all the people who are joining in this webinar. So today I'm going to discuss and tell some of the interesting facts about antioxidants in health and diseases. So in recent years, people are more concerned than ever about what they are putting into their bodies and what they are eating and how their body is functioning and how the changes are happening and occurring in their bodies during disease and ailment conditions like that. And the COVID pandemic has made the people more concerned about their health, and it drastically changes the perspective of the people toward the health and wellness. And health, according to the World Health Organization, health is the state of complete physical, social, and mental well-being, and not just the absence of disease or income. So, but it also concerns with the that yes, wellness, not only the physical, even the mental also. Mental wellness also highly important. So the enjoyment of highest attainable standard of health is considered as one of the fundamental rights of every human being. And if you see over the past few decades, there is an increasing recognition that the only biomedical interventions alone cannot guarantee better health. At the same time, that yes, what we are having, what we are eating, and the diet also plays a crucial and a vital role for that yes to maintain the better health and living standards. So thus the attainment of highest possible standards of health depends on a comprehensive holistic approach and which goes beyond the traditional curative care involving communities, health providers and other stakeholders and the people across the globe. And coming to this, because of this, food habits and lot of factors like environmental risk factors, behavioral risk factors, biological risk factors, and chronic non-communicable diseases apart from communicable diseases. So these factors, they're coming to these environmental risk factors. So because of the globalization and urbanization, people are very busy with their work and they are not sparing time for physical health and and other activities. And other reasons comes under that yes factors comes under environmental risk factors would be urbanization and poverty and the low education and illiteracy and the stress. So these are the causative reasons for that yes ill health or the diseases. And the behavioral risk factors such as that is habitual like tobacco use and alcoholic intoxication and unhealthy diet and physical inactivity and coming to the biological risk factors and high blood glucose and that is hypertension, that is high blood pressure and in both terms in both are uncontrolled and abnormal serum lipids like high lipid profile and high waist hip ratio, we can call it as obesity, and the abnormal lung function like chronic pulmonary disorders like CPOD disorders like that, and which leads to various that chronic non-communicable diseases like the four major diseases are cardiovascular diseases like heart diseases and stroke, cancer, and chronic lung diseases. And coming to this, if you see the global scenario, so the non-communicable diseases still perceived as largely a problem of rich countries. It's not only confined to the rich countries, now it is a leading cause of premature deaths in Africa and Asia also. If you see the regions of the most of the regions in this, that is across the globe, so the data explains, that yes, the mortality or the morbidity rate is It's around 20 to 25 in case of that is Asian and most of the African countries. So this rate is less in that is some American countries like North American countries like that. So this is the current scenario that is it explains how the NCDs non-communicable diseases affecting the lives of the people across the globe. And coming to this Zambia, according to the World Health Organization recent report, it's now 23, it was released in 23. Zambia has high burden of communicable and non-communicable disease, which makes around 35% of the deaths in 2023. If you see this data, NCDs, non-communicable diseases, what I told you that is cardiovascular disease, chronic respiratory diseases, cancer and diabetes. They contribute around 35%. See this data, out of every 100,000 or 1 lakh males, that is, that 938 males were affected in out of 1,000 population of males. Coming to the females, it would be, you can see that it's around 600 like this. So the ratio is more in case of the incidence rate is more in males than the females because of the behavioral and other aspects. And this data explains, that yes, almost half of the people they are living and associated with hypertension, and their worst part is they are unaware of their condition. And that's a survey conducted, and they told that 30 to 79 years in the age gap between 30 to 79. And what happens if you see this, the yellow color, global and high income and upper middle income to lower, the most of the people are unaware that they are having, I know that yes, hypertension or the high blood pressure, so which is the main causative reason for the cardiovascular diseases and renal failures also. And some, if you see these, some people diagnosed, but there is, that yes, no treatment, but because of other reasons or the lack of resources and other reasons, lack of awareness, but they didn't go for the treatment. And the light shade blue color indicates it treated but uncontrolled because it is at extreme level like that. And the very small portion you can see that it is controlled. So they are taking medications as well as physical and other parameters. So in order to curtail these problems and dietary restrictions. So that is, that the other data shows and no hypertension. It means, that these people need awareness about what they are eating and what should eat and what not, like that. And coming to this slide, so in the recent years, people are much more concerned about, that yes, the diet and, that health and wellness, and they are devoting a specific time in their daily life, that yes, to maintain the fitness and to stay fit and healthy life. So, with the rise of interest in wellness, most of the people then ever have turned to antioxidants as major dietary constituents. So, what are antioxidants and where they are present? So, the term is, that bit, that yes, complex antioxidant is simple. It stops oxidation process, which are not necessary for our bodies and which plays an important role in the ailment of disorders like that is cardiovascular, inflammatory, and cancer like that. So these are naturally occurring chemical or organic substance generally present in small quantities in all food materials like plant and very little amount in animal food material such as fruits and vegetables and nuts and like that. And the major role is, that to combat against free radicals. They suppresses the free radical effect. They mitigate the effect of free radicals, thereby stops the occurrence of most of the disorders at the early stage. And see, before going to discuss about oxidative stress and that is antioxidant, we should know some of the fundamental aspects of free radicals. So, what are free radicals? The free radicals, that in our body, various metabolic pathways occurs in almost all cells, every aerobic cells. And during this process, these free radicals have been generated as the byproducts and which can causes the damage to cellular components like proteins, lipids, and the DNA. If the damage occurs at the DNA level, it leads to mutation and causes even cancer also, and some genetic disorders and dreadful diseases which can continue to the next generation. So these free radicals, that is produced during the oxidation process, that is the breakdown of food, and that yes, when exposed to the tobacco and severe intoxication or the radiation like that. And other causative reasons for the generation of free radicals are the stress, and that yes, UV sunlight and the pollution like that. And these free radicals mostly they attack the that yes healthy cells and causes damage. Sometimes it is irreparable also. So where these free radicals occur, the free radicals occurs in that is in almost all cells in our body, like they can be generated during the normal cellular activities like pathological events and disease states, like the detoxification reactions and metabolic reactions, and like tissue ischemia and inflammatory diseases like that. So what are these free radicals? And for example, our body can cope up with some free radicals and needs them to function effectively. For example, phagocytosis. If any foreign particles like bacteria and the virus enters, and the WBC and the lymphocytes will come to our rescue and nullifies and mitigates these the foreign particles. During this process, the lymphocytes generate these free radicals like superoxide radical, hydroxyl radicals, which helps to kill and that is these foreign ingested particles. But at the same time, the free radicals in excess amount, that the overload, and then what happens? It leads to damage. Sometimes it may cause irreversible damage, like certain diseases like cancers, stomach, bowel, and lung cancer, oral cancer, and heart and hepatic diseases, which cannot be irreversible at extreme concentration. And these free radicals can be, that yes, derivatives of oxygen can be termed as reactive oxygen species, and the derivatives of nitrogen and reactive metabolites or intermediates like lipid peroxide derivatives and alkoxy derivatives, like that. And the source of free radicals is endogenous and exogenous. What we discussed, endogenous means within our body, like immune cell activation, mitochondria, and metabolism of heme, and the DS stress, inflammatory condition, ischemia, and cancer, like that. And exogenous are that air and water pollution, and presence of heavy metal ions, and that is like some toxic heavy metals present, and tobacco smoking, alcohol consumption, exposure to heavy metal toxins, drugs and medication. Certain drugs also induces like anti-cancer drugs and others, and they are cytotoxic to cells that eventually leads to the generation of high amount of reactive oxygen species, which may cause oxidative stress. We will come to that in the next upcoming slide. And the radiation and the UV light is very, very important, that is factors that induces free radical generation abruptly. So these free radicals can be generated by, that is in our body endogenous, and as we discussed, as I told you, exogenous, like endogenous means within the body as a resultant of metabolic pathways, both catabolic and anabolic. And that exogenous factors like UV light and the air pollution and ionizing radiation from nuclear reactors and the plants. And this is very fatal and causes DNA damage. Examples, what are? The free radicals are the group of, that is unstable molecules like superoxide, oxygen radical, and hydroxyl, alkoxy radical, and peroxy radical, nitroxy, and reactive nitrogen species like nitrous oxide and nitrogen dioxide, like that. These all can cause oxidative stress. So to combat, to that protect our body from these, that dreadful species, we need a defense system called antioxidant defense system. So this reaction explains how these that free radicals are generated. We know that molecular oxygen is absolutely essential for the survival of life since we are aerobic organism and for the occurrence of metabolic pathway, all redox reactions, everything, ATP generation and biosynthesis, regeneration. The same oxygen is responsible for the that yes generation of this responsible for this free radical generation and certain conditions like that. Like that from molecular oxygen we can get the superoxide. From superoxide we will get hydrogen peroxide, and which is the major source for other ROS reactive oxygen species such as hydroxyl radicals, and which combines with other metabolic derivatives produce that yes uh, peroxy radicals and alkoxy radicals like that. So when the free radicals overwhelm or the overpower the body's ability to regulate them, a condition known as oxidative stress ensues. So when this oxidative stress ensues or occurs, if the free radicals concentration or the levels overwhelm or overpower our body's ability at a specific level, that this small animation can that explain it is in a healthy cell, that yes, the free radical or highly unstable, they are always in search of electrons. We will come to that. And then what happens? They try to steal the electrons. They are the thieves or the robbers. So what are these healthy cells? The healthy cells are the oftenly that yes, the cells that are having important biomolecules like DNA and RNA and the lipids and proteins like that. So then what happens? What is the role of antioxidant? The antioxidant, that is by donating the electrons, it mitigates the effect or the that is the toxicity of the free radicals. So now we will start our discussion, actual discussion, its introduction about the free radical and oxidative stress, and we will see in detail in the coming slides. Antioxidants are absolutely critical for maintaining what you call the optimal cellular and systemic health and well-being. So this process is called free radical scavenging. The scavenging activity of exerted by the antioxidant, so it's called, that yes, free radical scavenging. So these are the antidotes to, that yes, free radical poisoning or the toxicity. So oxidative stress is involved in the pathology of, as we discussed, cancer, atherosclerosis, diabetes, and that various non-communicable diseases and other inflammatory diseases like rheumatoid arthritis and like that. So then what happen? A balance between the free radicals like such as reactive oxygen species and antioxidant is necessary for proper physiological function. If the this balance is missed, it leads to that yes, various diseases and disorders. So this is a simple animation explains the so it is in general what can we, if any pathogen or the bacteria or the virus enters in this fruit, what will happen? It starts deterioration of the rotin, and finally it will be collapsed and deteriorated. It is not edible at this stage. So now what happens in normal cell if the free radical, that is free radical concentration of the reactive oxygen species mounts, then what happens is it causes the damage, and what happens the cells with oxidative stress uh, will be subjected for the breakdown. It might be central nervous system cells or any very important cells. It could be more fatal if it is embryonic cells like that, and the fetus growth will be affected. And oxidative stress can cause cancer and vision loss and heart disease, arthritis, and obesity, and so many disorders, stroke, and that yes, eczema and what do you call Parkinson, and that Alzheimer's disease, so many things. We will see on the and effect of free radicals, that yes, they causes damage on the islands and that arthritis and damage to the brain cells. Sometimes it is irreparable and irreversible, such as Parkinson's and Alzheimer's disease. And senescence or the aging process, acceleration, and coronary heart diseases like that is then it causes the damage of LDL oxidation, and which adheres to the artery walls and leads to the plaques formation, which impedes the blood flow. Finally, it leads to the stroke. and that yes, cardiac arrest like that, and certain cancers also because of this uh, alkylation and the mutation at specific nitrogen bases. It also leads to disease, like cancer like conditions. And signs and symptoms of oxidative stress. These include, that fatigue and low energy levels, and mental cloudiness and cognitive challenges, premature aging, mood imbalances, and weakened immune response, and arthritis-like conditions, metabolic dysfunctions. So what we explained in the previous slide, all this, that yes, the data is depicted in a flowchart like all vital organs like lungs, kidneys, they exempt no other organ like that yes any other organ like lungs and joints, brain and the multi organ like intestine and eyes and everything will be uh, for the victims of this free radical attack mediated oxidative stress. And as I told you, like it affects the COPD, like asthmatic conditions, like chronic pulmonary obstructive disorders, retinal degeneration and fetus, and that multi-organ that damage, and the skin damage also, immune system and everything, like particularly heart, blood vessels, and it affects the vascular system also, and it affects also affects the renal, and of course it associates the blood pressure. If it affects the cardiovascular system, it eventually affects the renal system also. And yeah, this explains, that then what happens, what our body need. So how can we protect ourselves from these dreadful free radical species? So we need, that yes, healthy diet like which are enriched with antioxidants. So these antioxidants are nowadays are called the superheroes or the fighting against free radicals or the superpower or the superfood. So now antioxidants are considering as the superfood. Why? Because that yes, they mitigate that they suppress the toxicity of these free radicals. So that is, that antioxidant found in certain foods. For now, the concept is what are antioxidants? These are organic substances present in almost all food materials, mostly in plant food materials like fruits and the vegetables and etc. These include, the nutrient antioxidant and non-nutrient antioxidants also, and like vitamins, certain vitamins like vitamin C, vitamin E, vitamin A, and the minerals like copper and small concentrations of iron and copper and selenium and zinc. They can exhibit, they do act as antioxidant and helps our system to combat against, protects our system against free radicals. And other dietary food components such as phytochemicals. So phytochemicals, that now, lot of research is going on in these phytochemicals like flavonoids, alkaloids, and the terpenoids and anthocyanins and all these things. They are potential, that is exhibiting or exerting potential antioxidant ability than the synthetic ones. Right? We will come to that in the next slide. And these some of these non-nutrient antioxidants also there. These are phytochemicals like lycopenes in tomato and anthocyanins in cranberries like that. So what is the function of until now we discussed about we had a review about how free radicals damages our system. Now we are seeing we are going to discuss about the antioxidants functions. So the antioxidants, that yes, they can their major role is defensive role. They protect our system and the cells from the attack of free radicals by destroying them, and promote the growth of healthy cells by promoting the cell division and that yes, and a certain vital molecule macromolecule synthesis, and the protect cells against premature senescence and the abnormal aging process, and help uh, to fight against age-related macular degeneration or the aging process. That is, at a younger age, people appear, some people you can see, observe They appears as bit aged persons because of this stress and oxidative like that. And that yes, they provide the support to the body's immune system, and by promoting the synthesis of certain antibodies and the other immune competent cells, and they protects that yes, uh, like various types of against reactive nitrogen species as well as oxygen species. And antioxidants can be grouped into three based on their mechanism of action. The first one is in the primary antioxidant, which function essentially as that is free radical terminators or the scavengers. And the second one is that secondary antioxidants, which are important preventive antioxidant that function by impeding chain initiation. The first category comes under that is scavengers. They initially scavengers and then neutralizes the effects of free radical. The second one is that this stops the growing of that the free radical change. That they mostly target these H2O2 concentration, hydrogen peroxide. This they reduces the levels of H2O2 hydrogen peroxide, which is the major source, one of the major source of free radicals. The third one is the tertiary antioxidant, which are concerned with the repair of damaged molecules such as the lipids and the DNA, right? So that is based on the mechanism of action. They are primary, secondary, and the tertiary. And this data explains, that the classification of the antioxidants, that we are blessed with so many types of antioxidants, like the non-enzymatic and the enzymatic. Enzymatic, or they are present in living cells like primary and the secondary. For example, phase one and the phase two, like superoxide dismutase, catalase, glutathione peroxidase, glutathione reductase, and glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase, like that. And these are the enzymes present in living cells. That is very, very important in cell survival and and the mitigation of the cellular toxicity, the effects of ROS as well as that reactive nitrogen species. And coming to this natural antioxidant, another classification, non-enzymatic. So you can find wide range of that is so many subcategories in this case, like minerals and like iodine, zinc, and copper, manganese, and the selenium. It is very rare to see the selenium in our body, but certain enzymes do require selenium, like for example, glutathione peroxidase as well as thioredoxin reductase. They absolutely depends on selenium. So selenium is very, very important element, like the zinc and copper also. And vitamins like, and well, in our daily life, that yes, through fruit directly and indirectly, we are taking a lot of vitamins like vitamin A, E, and C, right? So among these, vitamin C is that is uh, the most powerful antioxidant whose biological score is ascorbic acid 100, right? And it is very, very important. So that's where doctor suggests, that the vitamin C is, that the intake of vitamin C is very important in an healthy for a healthy individual to maintain proper health, because it supports our immune system and the immunity. And the polyphenol comes under phytochemicals like the flavonoids and alkaloids, and that is gallic acids, epigalic acid. From that yes, there is much growing interest is that happening in this area, that is the phytochemicals. Even they can combat that is the cancer, and that is carotenoids and some other antioxidant which are non-protein and protein are there, but their activity is minimal or less when you compare with other categories like albumin, ceruloplasmin, and haptoglobulin, transferrin, like that. So these are present in living cells. Some are produced as that is intermediate during metabolic pathways. And the types of antioxidants, like that is these are, and then just it is that this table explains, simplifies the things what we already discussed, enzymes and the vitamins, minerals, and that is metabolites. And this is very important, that as I told you earlier, there should be a balance between healthy balance between ROS and the antioxidants. which are very, very important for, that yes, the maintenance of homeostasis in cells. If this balance, that yes, is changes or bias it towards ROS or like that, it leads to some problematic conditions or some ailment. Now, what are the health benefits of antioxidant? The health benefits of antioxidants or antioxidant help to protect the brain. I know that the recent research suggested, that revealed that antioxidant, they are, that yes, they can be used as a medicine to treat several neurodegenerative disorders like Alzheimer's disease, as well as Parkinson's disease. So like that, that. And next one is antioxidant can contribute to better mental health, that by reducing the depression and the anxiety. And very importantly, antioxidants like beta carotene is very important for like which is the precursor of vitamin A, which is abundant in carrot, is important for that yes eye health, for corneal growth and others. And a 6 year and the recent research revealed that a 6 year clinical trial found that the combination of antioxidant like vitamin C and 500 milligrams and vitamin E 400 international units and the beta carotene 15 milligram and 80 milligram of zinc reduced the risk of developing age-related eye diseases by 25%. So it signifies the importance of that antioxidant, as that is important constituents of our food material. And they also help with healthy aging overall. There, for example, vitamin A, vitamin E. So vitamin E is very important. That is antioxidant, which protects the lipid bilayer membranes and the lipid membranes, and thereby responsible for the cell permeability and the integrity also. And these some of the health benefits of antioxidant. This summarizes the whole data. Like vitamin C, if you see this, it prevents even some types of cancer and the cardiovascular diseases. And the mode of action is vitamin C has ascorbic acid. It has high reducing capacity. Its reducing capacity is more, so that's why it can, that is inhibits the oxidation of DNA. So during antioxidant assay studies, the scientists or the researchers generally take the vitamin C as that standard. So they compare the synthetic as well as the isolated antioxidant compounds on par with vitamin C. They that the potency or the scavenging effect can be compared, must be compared with the vitamin C. But that is the significance of vitamin C, as that is antioxidant compound. And the vitamin E, the tocopherol, prevents the oxidation of lipids and responsible for the, that is liver and adipose tissues protection, and it prevents the LDL, that is oxidation also, low density lipoproteins, so which is considered as bad cholesterol, which plays vital role in atherosclerosis and the various cardiovascular diseases, and vitamin A. So these are vitamins which can act as antioxidants also. They prevent the oxidation process and pass through liver. The best thing is, that they can easily pass. So even though they are hydrophobic and they are lipophilic, they can easily pass through the cell membrane and reaches the target or the the area. And the lycopene, which is frequently seen, that is the most abundant phytochemical constituent of tomato, and it is now the recent studies, researchers, that they exploited the anti-cancer ability of lycopene, and that is how they affect the, that is promote the cell survival by binding to the, that is cell surface membrane proteins, and thereby causes the cell survival and prevents the DNA damage also. Another research article suggested that lycopenes are very, very important. Uh, now that the plant pigment, the red color of the tomato is due to lycopene, and which can exhibit the antioxidant ability also. And the polyphenols, like these are the phytochemicals, like alkaloids, flavonoids, terpenoids, and all this they can prevent the buildup of plaques, which are very important things in that yes, the problem in atherosclerosis or arteriosclerosis, and it prevents the oxidation of LDL molecule, low density lipoproteins. The problem with this low density lipoprotein, high density lipoprotein, if the ratio is that yes changes, then it leads to that uh, cardiovascular disease. Disease fighting antioxidants, that yes, these are disease fighting antioxidants like as we discussed at in our previous uh, that in my previous table, I explained about the lycopene and the polyphenols, like lutein, lycopene of the tomato, and the DSP, which also reduces the risk of diabetes mellitus, and the lutein of spinach and corn, and which are responsible for the proper maintenance of eye lens, eye vision, and they prevent the degeneration of the lens and the cornea. And the lutein is very important for the cognitive that yes maintenance, that is the proper brain functioning. And very importantly, that now that apart from regular diet, that's that yes, that food and dietitians they started to suggest this, that yes, a wide range of phytochemicals to their, the patients, or the patients, particularly the cancer patients after chemotherapy and the radiotherapy, the body is enervated, that yes, in order to cope up, these antioxidant-rich diet is inevitable to, that perform their daily activity, like resveratrol and, that yes, cholesterol, curcumin. See, curcumin is the best, that yes, this is the turmeric. Mostly we use in, that yes, all food recipes. So this is, that yes, which can act as a potent antioxidant activity, and epigallocatechin gallate and the quercetin and all those things. So these are present in normal foods like what we discussed, like vitamin C, E, flavonoids, anthocyanin, coenzyme Q10 and the lycopene like that. You can see this coenzyme Q10, CoQ10, it is present in the fish. But that animal food materials have less quantities of antioxidant than the plant materials. The sources are, that yes, you can see there that recommended dietary allowance of antioxidant is 75 to 90 milligram per day. Either they can be like fruits or that vegetables or spices like that. The spices like ginger and that yes, garlic and cinnamon, and all these are very that yes, rich in that abundant in antioxidant. And how the antioxidant ability can be measured. The antioxidant ability of the food materials can be measured by ORAC, that is oxygen radical absorbance capacity. So oxygen radical absorbance capacity, it is the capacity of the antioxidant present in the food molecule or the food, that is component. Uh, it can, that mitigate the 50% of the toxicity of the free radicals. So like that. So this is, that generally if you see this, the plant-based food materials has high ORAC, oxygen radical absorbance capacity scores are more in material plant-based foods than the animal-based foods. Even the seafoods also, that is very less. That's suggestion. So mostly, that yes, the people, that yes, prefer to eat, they should eat they should give the preference to eat the plant rather than the animal. And that yes, the eggs and that meat are important, but in moderate quantities only. For example, what is the general recommendation of ORAC? The general recommendation of ORAC, oxygen radical absorbance capacity in male is 11,000 ORAC units per day. Coming to the women, 8,000. So because the difference is, that men need more calories. An adult average human being is 70 kg man, consumes 2,500 calories. So, that coming to the woman, it is 1,800 calories. So, like that, of course, other parameters also will influence. And athletes and the sports person need more, that is ORAC and the more calories also. Now, that there is growing interest in this, that it's perceived data now, that yes, you can see that astaxanthin supplements, this is having highest ORCA value with 282,000, like that, more than 282,000. So this is isolated from microalgae. And coming to this Ayurvedic formulation like the Triphala powder, it's a combination of three herbal medicine. It has 70,000, more than 70,000 OSCA value. And like our common like tea leaves, 62,000, and basil like tulasi, 61,000, like the pomegranate fruit, whole fruit with yellow color, what you call the peels, is 55,000 plus, and the cumin seeds, that is the natural spices, and 50,000, and the ginger spice ground, that's 39,000 something like that, and the chili powder, and gold apple with, that yes, yellow color apple, 17,933 like that, and the walnuts, which are very important, that for CNS, for brain health. And these berry fruits are very, very rich in, that yes, antioxidant like cranberries, and beans and lentils also very good source of that is, antioxidant. And dry fruits such as almonds also very important. But that this data suggests we should include at least some of these food materials in our diet. And coming to this, the isolation of, the reaction phytochemicals is quite laborious and expensive process. Now the people are switching towards, the particularly industrial and the food industry people, they are using the synthetic antioxidants as alternative to these antioxidants, natural antioxidant components such as butylated hydroxyanisole, butylated hydroxytoluene, and propylgalol and tertiary butyl hydroxyquinone, TBHQ, and butylated hydroxytoluene. If you see this, these all these antioxidants can be added to this food, like oil food, to preserve the oil foods, to prevent the spoilage from microbes and oxidative rancidity. This is called, that yes, oxidative rancidity, like chips, and that yes, cheese, and other, that yes, fat uh, food materials. But what happens in high doses, the problem with the synthetic antioxidant, people who used to consume high quantity of what you call chips and the junk food and the fast food, fried foods, they call this, that yes, in high doses, what happens, when you boil any food material at high temperature, it leads to they can be converted to a toxic compound like acrylamides, like that. And the nature of this antioxidant will be changed, and may even causes the deleterious effects also, such as carcinogenicity, cytotoxic, and like the convulsions, vomiting, like that. Like best example is usage of that is, the MSG salt. In restaurants, they frequently use monosodium glutamate. So if you frequently take as a major food, that is preservative, as well as it suppresses the non-vegetarian smell also from fishes and meat and all those things. In high doses, this monosodium glutamate, it enhances the taste, but at the same time, the adverse effects or it causes some gastric disturbances, and that yes, it causes Chinese restaurant syndrome. And high doses of synthetic antioxidants are also fatal. That yes, that's why that WHO and that and FDA, they made some specifications on these, that antioxidants, like that, for example, take BHA, butylated hydroxyanisole. It should be less than, that is 200 milligram per kg of food material. But the food companies, even if you see those, they hide these data. They don't print the backside of this, chips packets, and you can, check the preserved food material. They hide it because they put high concentration of these, that is synthetic antioxidant in order to increase the longevity of these food materials. Like there is certain standards specified by the Federal Drug Administration. That is, that USA, like propyl gallate and octyl gallate and dodecyl gallate, they should be in between 100 to 200 milligram. If in high concentration, what happens? It may leads to, that yes, toxic effects. It's difficult to visualize this data, like, the same thing, for food materials, the nature, how they appear. For example, butylated hydroxycholine, the first ever antioxidant synthesized in laboratory. It should be less than 100 to 200 milligram per kg of food to be preserved. But these are generally mixed with vegetable oils and the meats and all these canned foods. All these canned foods and the fat foods can be preserved by the synthetic antioxidant. But the problem is, that they are hiding the actual figure on the content, how much they are. There should be a specific, that yes, monitoring system should be there. But even though monitoring, that yes, they are taking, they are deceiving these, that the government and the people, and finally people are suffering. So what we should have in our plate, that healthy eating plate should have, that is 60% of the vegetable, 50%, more than 50% of the vegetables, and some portion of fruits and whole grains and healthy proteins, healthy oils, like that unsaturated fat. So it means that if you take saturated fat like cholesterol, cheese, and that yes, other mayonnaise and all those things, they are very deleterious, and plenty full of water. At least that is 3 liters of water per day, and try to limit or cut out the following. That yes, like processed foods, smoked foods, and deep fried foods, high fat items such as pastries, and they are responsible for the generation of free radicals, which causes reactive oxygen species, which have been, that is, which leads to oxidative stress. This oxidative stress have been implicated in, that we studied, like inflammatory diseases and so many dreadful diseases. And you should not, that you should curtail, one should curtail these, that food items from their, that healthy eating plate. And these are do not. And what you should instead do, fill your, that yes, plate with fresh and unprocessed foods, no junk food, no packaged food, right? But we can't avoid, very likely. Nowadays, that even adult people also addicted to this junk food like chips and everything. And try to increase the fresh and unprocessed food, raw food and vegetables, and high fiber content, and along with these natural food materials. And this is, I just, I want to end my discussion presentation with this cartoon, that with this bottom line. It is very important to consume a variety of antioxidant-rich foods as part of healthy diet to help protect against the harmful effects of free radicals. So one should, practice healthy dietary system to stay healthy and fit, right? The objective of human being is, that yes, of course, to be strong, that financially, economically, at the same time, that yes, to lead healthy life. That is the primary objective. If you are healthy, that our golden saying is that health is wealth, right? So one must, that it's the time to focus on your, that health aspect. Thank you. I hope that yes, I provided some useful information to the audience. And now, if anyone have any questions, you can ask.
There is one person raised his hand.
Thank you very much for such an insightful presentation. I have really learned a lot. It's a very good presentation. I wanted to ask, Are you going to share this presentation with us at the end of this session?
Sure, sure, I
Thank you
will
so
present.
much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Apart from that, do you have any queries regarding the data or the role of antioxidants? Anything?
No, I didn't have any questions. It was well explained, but I thought maybe I could just have the presentation to continue to go through on my own. Thank you so much.
Yeah, surely I will provide. You can collect from my office or I will give to my team. I will give to my team. They will share.
I was thinking you will share with the emails.
No, not email. You can collect from from myself or advertising team Texila. You can
Yeah.
communicate with the Texila office people.
Okay, my
Yeah,
daughter from Zambia, Texila University. Thank you.
yeah. She can come to me. That people knows me in Department of Medicine. I'm teaching for medicine and HPFP both. They can come and collect. Your daughter can come and collect. No problem. Okay.
Any other questions from the attendee side?
Anonymous attendee, how do antioxidants help in treatment of Parkinson's disease? Yeah, you know that Parkinson's disease, it's a neurodegenerative disease like Alzheimer's, one kind of disease. You can't, that completely revert back. That if you identify at the beginning stage, certain, that yes, chemicals are there, phytochemicals with antioxidant ability, such as quercetin and quercetin derivatives. The research data clearly, that yes, explains. They can, that yes, uh, make the, the condition reverse to some extent if it is at the beginning stage. Suppose you know that at the ending stage, any disease, treatment is very difficult. And particularly coming to this Parkinson's disease, that yes, these are, central nervous system disorders which can be identified at the beginning with physical symptoms and all those. Nowadays, that with that your CT scan and MRI scan, we can identify at the beginning, and thereby we can stop the progression. If you stop the progression of any disease, then you can look into the treatment. And the next question is a well articulated presentation. Thank you. My question is it possible that oxidants can be both harmful and beneficial? Henry, yes, that, but synthetic, that is it possible that oxidant? Now, the question is, that I should correct this question. It is antioxidant. Oxidants would be reactive oxygen species. So don't confuse with the word oxidant and antioxidant. Oxidants, they causes the damage, that yes, what are those? These are, the reactive oxygen species, reactive nitrogen species, like that. But coming to this antioxidant, it acts against to this oxidant. So definitely, that yes, oxidants, yeah, maybe you are asking about reactive oxygen species. Yeah, they are beneficial in moderate quantities. For example, phagocytosis. So, for example, macrophages and monocytes in our body, they during the engulfment of foreign particles like such as bacteria and virus, the killing part, that the killing of these foreign particles, the damaging of these foreign particles can be mediated by these reactive oxygen species. They perforate, they put holes over the cell membrane, they damages the lipid bilayer membrane of bacteria and virus, and thereby causes that is, the helps in phagocytosis. Yes, that is. Yes, your question is correct. You know that I was mistaken. The oxidant means reactive oxygen species in minute concentration in phagocytic cell. They are useful they helps in the phagocytosis process. But at the same time, you can see at the beginning of my slides, if the concentration exceeds, for example, H2O to hydrogen peroxide, the optimal concentration should be less than 1 micromolar in any cell. But what happens if it exceeds more than 1 micromolar? listen carefully, it is 1 micromolar. Then what happens? This H2O2 produces, generates a series of reactive oxygen species or the oxidants which are harmful. Even the main target is proteins, lipids, and DNA. Coming to the proteins, they causes, that they target the protein function, they damages the active sites and a specific amino acid side chain modifications and domains. That protein might be any hormone or any plasma membrane protein or any enzyme or any integral protein of central nervous system cell membranes or any kind of. Second thing is lipids. The cell, that if you cell is surrounded by a barrier, semi-permeable membrane that is called cell membrane, which is made up of lipid bilayer membrane, phospholipids, glycolipids. The target is, that the double bonds of these unsaturated fatty acids of these phospho and the glycolipids are targeted by these reactive oxygen species. Wherever the double bond or unsaturation is there, they try to attack and they steals the electron. Free radicals, they are always in search of electrons. They try in order to get the stability, they steal the electrons from, that is the cellular component, and the victims are generally proteins, either proteins or lipids, uh, DNA. Coming to the DNA, we know that it is it's a repository of the genetic information. The genetic information today, what we are, that because of the genetic information and that we has hereditary thing of the maintenance. But this DNA is made up of nucleotides. These nucleotides are further made up of nitrogen-based sugars and bases. These nitrogen bases are very important, like purines and pyrimidines. So they are very essential for the storage and the transmission of the genetic information. The blueprint of the genetic information is generally stored in these nitrogen bases. So the nitrogen bases must be, that is protected from this cellular environment and the cellular insect. So what these reactive oxygen species will do, they target these nitrogen bases, adenine, guanine, cytosine, and thymine, and causes some modifications like single strand breaks and double strand breaks and the methylation. For example, take guanine. Guanine is a purine, the part of both DNA and RNA. The guanine, it has oxy group and amino group. The oxy group of guanine is oftenly methylated with these alkoxy radicals. So the O-methyl guanine is very deleterious. It eventually leads to cancer, no doubt. But of course, our body has some defense system, antioxidant defense system, and tumor suppressor systems like cancer suppressor systems, like P53, BRCA1, and BCL2. So many tumor suppressor systems are there. If they fail, then what happens? It leads to cancer. So finally, that yes, it's a good question, very good question. Oxidants, reactive oxidant species are not at all bad. In minute concentration, in low concentration, they are helpful in the phagocytosis, that is engulfing of the foreign particles such as bacteria and viruses. They are very important for our immunity. At the same time, when the problem arises, if they exceeds a certain concentration, and that there are a lot of methods also there and to estimate. You can ask one and how the reactive oxygen species can be measured. Yes, a lot of systems are there, a lot of advanced happened, that to measure these ROS in cells. So, thank you. It's a very good question, Henry Kainga. And next question was, Kanan Kavichi. Good afternoon. Thank you for hosting this informative webinar. I would like to ask a question sincerely, Canon. So you can ask Canon. I'm on online only. I'm in online only. You can ask. There is no known treatment for Parkinson's disease to date. How can antioxidant reverse? No, I didn't say that that reverse is not at all possible. You can mitigate. You can reduce, control the intensity. I know that that yes, you can stop further. And the condition is if you identify at the beginning. So don't think that antioxidants are not the sole superfoods. Along with the medicine, for example, take the, that yes, anti-cancer therapy, cancer therapy. Cancer therapy, what happens, that once a person identified with a cancer, then what happens before that it is spread, then what happens immediately in a metastasis condition, one should start with, that is chemotherapy followed by radiotherapy. During this process, what happens? Lot of changes happens in our body. So the diet should have along with that yes proper medication that you need healthy diet. The diet must be enriched with antioxidant. So because of the most important problem with these drugs, anti-cancer, anti-tumor drugs are what you call cytotoxicity, the side effect. And if you take any drug, it reaches the liver, then what happens because of what you call xenobiotic mechanism, a lot of reactive oxygen species can be generated, particularly hydrogen peroxide, from which other uh, reactive oxygen species like hydroxy radicals concentration will be more. To mitigate that, what happened further, if you again take the synthetic, that is drugs to mitigate these oxidant or reactive oxygen species levels, it would be further, it causes some health issues. It worsens the situation. It adds some more woes to the patient. So that's why what happened. The best part is that certain phytochemical constituents are available, and that certain fruits, for example, broccoli, vegetables like broccoli, and low glycemic index rice, and certain diet is there. That diet helps. I know that they are enriched with the antioxidant. That diet helps. I know that is the patient to recover quickly when compared with the normal diet. So I changed 5 questions and one direct question. I answer. Right. They need, Caroline Masunda needs presentation. Huh? We have to provide. Thank you for this great opportunity. Kelvin Sakala, thank you. How do antioxidants interact with various cellular signaling pathways to influence disease progression and overall human health? Yes, it's Kelvin Sakala. It's a very good question indeed. So the thing is, that most of these antioxidants can be easily permeable to cell membrane.
Good afternoon, Dr. Kumar. First and foremost, thank you for a very informative. I've learned a lot in the past 1 hour.
Thank you. What is your
So
question?
you recommended taking supplements as a way to combat free radicals. So I wanted to ask, are there any potential risks or downsides associated with consuming antioxidant supplements in high doses?
Yeah, definitely. It's a very good question. Right? For any food material, for any food material, there is a limit. For example, if you take the glucose or the protein or the lipids, like that, these are superfoods. But in extreme levels, they causes the damage, right? So, shall I continue? Yeah, then in high concentration, for example, take vitamin A. Everyone knows vitamin A and its precursor vitamin, beta carotene. They are very important for the visual cycle and the proper vision and eye vision. But in high concentration, for example, if it exceeds 50,000 international units or like that, the same vitamin A causes hepatotoxicity. Doesn't mean that that these, for example, take zinc and copper, and they also causes damage of soft tissues and several skeletal muscles, even sometimes the CNS central nervous system damage also. So what I'm saying that at extreme level, even the medicine can be turned to a poison, right? So, but the effect is, of antioxidants, since they from natural sources, they are isolated from the natural sources, they are present in part and parcel of natural sources. The effects are not much, that is deleterious when you compare it with other vitamins and minerals. Another question I just, that somebody interpreted. The question was, that how they helps the cell survival by interfering at that is signal cascade or the signal transduction pathways. For example, during oxidative stress, what happens? Reactive oxygen species and hydrogen peroxide levels will be increased. What happens? There is a defense system in our body. Like these defense systems are that yes, like phase one antioxidant enzymes and phase two antioxidant enzymes, certain proteins. Immediately, what happens? The cellular machinery and there is the switches over the antioxidant phase one, phase two, that is antioxidant enzymes producing genes by some of the oxidant. So if you see in our body, ceruloplasmin is there, transferrin is there, even bilirubin in low amounts can exhibit the antioxidant activity, and albumin can act as antioxidant. So like that, then what happens? Our cell has developed some machinery and the signaling process in order to switch to upregulate certain genes of signal transduction pathways. They can interfere at MAP kinase pathways, and they can, that yes, promotes increases the levels of cyclins and cyclin dependent kinases, which are very important for the cell cycle progression. So why not? They can interfere at, cell signaling pathways also. One of my, that is research work is it how thiomethylquercetin and the camphorol, how they make the cells to survive in this oxidative stress in extreme conditions. Simple. It was tested in in vitro and in vivo also, and a theory was postulated that these antioxidant, most of the antioxidants are permeable to the cell membrane, and they can easily pass through the cell membrane, and they can bind to this, that is what you call the DNA at a particular what you call site called antioxidant responsive element, and they can able to induce the gene expression also. The resultant protein would be any kind of protein like MAP kinase pathway or cell signaling pathway. Thank you. Any other questions?
Good afternoon, Dr. Naveen. My question would actually be like this previous one, but asked in a different way. The question is, you have actually highlighted the food that may be taken as a preventive measure from getting reactive oxygen species. Now,
Yes.
people have different words, and the recommended amounts would have been also given so that people could know how much they need to take. Like the one who asked previously was saying, supposing you get an overdose. So that would have helped quite a lot if it were highlighted also, so that we take precaution.
Yeah,
because
overall, it's a very good suggestion indeed. Professor, it is, the recommended daily dietary allowance is 75 to 90 milligram per day, right? And also, this antioxidant concentration can be measured of the food materials can be measured for 100 grams of food material. From it's not possible to measure every day. For example, how many onions can you take? We can't say that it would be few milligrams. For example, onions, they have very important that antioxidants such as quercetin, and garlic, that is allicin. Like that, we are taking daily. But for example, in a certain diseased conditions, you should take in more amount. For example, toothache is there, some dental caries or something. You can, the allicin is a natural antioxidant that can fight against the dental caries, and that, and it kills the bacteria, certain bacteria also that are responsible for the dental caries. So what I'm saying there, yes, there is data also there, but what in my presentation, I mostly focused on the superfoods or antioxidant rich foods, which are unknown, certain things are unknown to the people. Like, astaxanthin supplement. So this is from microalgae. This is the highest ever antioxidant score possessing by any food material, that is ORCA. What I told you, oxygen radical absorbance capacity. Apart from that, other parameters also there which can measure the antioxidant ability and as well as that antioxidant concentration also. So like DPPH essays and PrAP essays and like, and finally that yes, some regular food items and non-regular food items are there. But my suggestion is that yes, we are knowingly, unknowingly, that taking all these food materials. But I got your point, right? Like, some people may not like the lentils. Now, then what happens? You can increase their quantity in diet after seeing this data, ORCA data. But, you can't,
Oh, thanks so much, Dr.
yeah,
Naveen, for
perfectly call them
you've
as
answered my question.
superfoods. Yeah, they are superfoods, but these are not the solution for that every disease like Parkinson's or Alzheimer's. At the beginning stage, we can, if you can identify by using this antioxidant, we can stop the progression. That's it. At the end stage, no one can uh, do nothing. Like with synthetic or the most sophisticated interventions also cannot save the patient. What I'm saying that if you diagnose it with hypertension, so one should start the precaution from the beginning by incorporating these antioxidant rich diet like that. Not, we should not wait until it progresses like that, right? Prevention is better than cure.
Okay, so I hope by this we will come to the end of the session. Yeah, big virtual thanks to each and everyone making our webinar a success. Thank you, Dr. Naveen.
Thank you, madam.